You know, my ex was 10 times the man you'll ever be. That sentence, half laughed, half slurred, floated across the dining table like a hand grenade tossed without care. Her wine glass clinked softly against the plate, a satisfied smirk on her face, like she'd just delivered some mic-drop truth bomb and expected applause. I didn't respond, not even a twitch. I just set my fork down, slowly, deliberately, then stood up, walked to the hallway, slipped on my coat, and grabbed my keys. No plate throwing, no shouting match, no door slam, just the sound of my boots clicking against the floor as I left behind the wreckage of the last 6 years in utter silence. I don't think she even looked up. Maybe she thought I was going to the store. Maybe she thought I was sulking, driving around the block like a kicked puppy, waiting for her to let me back in. That was her usual script. She always counted on that final card, the guilt trip. The silence she wielded like a hammer after her verbal storms, the long sighs, the muttered insults under her breath while walking away. She never expected actual silence. Real silence, the kind that means you're done. And for those of you still listening at this point, let me just say, if this hit you in the gut, you're not alone. Over 90% of you guys watch these without subscribing, but if this story speaks to you, if you've ever walked out that door too, click subscribe. It lets us know these stories matter. It keeps this team going. Back to it. I didn't check into a motel or crash on a friend's couch. I went somewhere specific. A Marriott downtown. Suite 1422. Not just a room. A staging ground. I'd already thought about this before. Not the insult. God no. That blind side came fresh out of her tequila-laced mouth like a slap made of acid, but the possibility. The eventuality. I'd known for a while that we were slowly being buried under layers of passive contempt. It just took that one sentence to scrape the last few shovels of dirt. Her ex, the one she was so giddy to compare me to, had moved to Austin years ago. Real estate guy. Big spender. Bragged about his Teslas and his steaks. He also cheated on her. Repeatedly. Lied to her face. Had a second phone. I knew this not because she told me. She never tells the truth about her past, but because I heard it from someone far more honest. Someone I met, accidentally, at a conference in Denver 2 years prior. Her name was Victoria, and Victoria wasn't just a conference speaker. She was his wife now. I had no idea at the time. She mentioned his name, Brent, and I filed it in the back of my mind. Later that evening, I saw her again at the hotel bar, and we talked. Not flirted. Talked. She mentioned marrying a fixer-upper with a god complex, and it clicked. We laughed. Not about him. About ourselves. About being the people who clean up other people's messes. I told her I was in cybersecurity. She told me she was a divorce attorney. Not just any attorney. A specialist. Wealth protection, post-nuptial architecture, privacy shields, financial isolation techniques. The kind of person a hedge fund manager hires before they get caught with their pants down. We didn't exchange numbers, but we remembered each other. So when I left that dinner table and heard her voice in my head, smirking, wine warm, throwing that man in my face, I didn't think of him. I thought of her. I pulled over at a gas station, sat in the car, and scrolled through my old emails. Buried deep in a forgotten inbox tied to my LLC, there it was, a forwarded panel recording from that Denver conference. Sent by her, with a short note. If you ever need to protect yourself, give me a call. I'm not just a lawyer. I'm an escape plan. I smiled for the first time in what felt like years. Now I wasn't escaping. I was repositioning. At the Marriott, I used a throwaway debit card from one of my side businesses. No digital trail linking it back to me. I checked in using the name of an old college roommate who'd passed away 5 years ago. The desk clerk didn't even blink. I walked into the room, took off my coat, and sat down. No lights. No TV. Just the city lights bleeding in through the blinds and the soft hum of distance between me and the life I was done pretending to be part of. My phone buzzed. Not her. Never her. She was too proud to call. No, this was someone else. Victoria. Text only. No small talk. If you're ready, I can meet in the bar in 20. I've already pulled her credit reports. I didn't ask how she knew. She always knew. I changed into a dark blazer, walked down the hallway, and rode the elevator to the ground floor. I could already smell the perfume before I saw her. Clean, expensive, unapologetically dominant. She sat alone at a small table near the far wall, folder open, a glass of something neat beside her. She didn't smile when I sat down. Instead, she slid the folder toward me. Inside, maps of assets, a drafted divorce filing, 3 letters addressed to different banks requesting joint account freezes due to suspected financial misrepresentation. Then she looked up and said something I'll never forget. I don't want to ruin her. I want to disarm her. When it's done, she'll have nothing left to weaponize. And somewhere in that moment, something in me finally clicked into place. Not rage, not revenge. Precision. She sat with her back to the piano, eyes casually scanning the room like someone accustomed to threats, but no longer moved by them. Even the way she held her drink, left hand loose around the base, index finger tapping the rim, felt calculated. Not casual. Controlled. This wasn't just any woman sitting alone in a bar. This was someone who'd buried reputations beneath confidentiality clauses and walked away without a wrinkle in her blouse. I took the seat across from her. No greetings. No fake warmth. She slid a manila folder across the low marble table. No words. Just one look, measured, calm. I opened it. Top sheet. A draft petition for divorce citing strategic marital misrepresentation, whatever the hell that meant. The next few pages were far worse. Bank statements I hadn't seen in months. Somehow she'd already pulled the ones my wife had insisted on keeping private, the just-in-case accounts tied to a business I never fully trusted. Buried under LLCs registered in Arizona, no less. Creative. And illegal, if done sloppily. Which, of course, my wife had done. Next were color-coded diagrams, trails of funds, cash transfers, withdrawals, and even purchases at high-end boutiques. A handbag she claimed was a gift from a client, paid for out of our joint travel fund. A spa weekend with her sister, booked under a dummy retreat for trauma bonding that somehow had 0 receipts and one very real charge on our shared card. This is your foundation, Victoria said, her voice like velvet over a scalpel. We won't move yet. We wait. Then we push the first domino. I looked up at her. Why help me? She didn't blink. Because she laughed when she cheated. I recognized the pattern. I used to sleep beside it. There it was. She didn't need to say his name. Brent. Her husband. My wife's oh-so-manly ex. The one she had the audacity to mention over pork tenderloin like it was normal dinner conversation. The one who used to parade women into her condo when she was out of town. The one who once locked her out of their joint account the night before her rent was due, then sent her a text that said, "Bet your new boyfriend can't fix that." I closed the folder and leaned back. What do you want in return? She tilted her head. Nothing from you. But I do want her to feel the weight of real consequences. Not yelling. Not crying. Silence. Isolation. Financial suspension. Strategic suffocation. We don't take her down in court. We take her apart before she even steps foot in one. A server came by. I ordered nothing. She ordered water, but didn't touch it. The server left, and she pulled another document from her leather tote. It was a list of names. My eyes scanned it, quickly recognizing 2 mutual friends, her former Pilates instructor, and a realtor she swore she hadn't spoken to in years. What's this? Witnesses, she said. People who owe me favors. Or people she owes apologies to. Either way, they'll cooperate. I don't want to humiliate her, I said, not fully believing it. Victoria gave the faintest smile. You don't have to. Just step aside and let her own decisions do it for you. The folder also contained a timeline, built out to the day, of how the next 8 weeks would unfold. From the moment I disappeared, to the account freezes, to the subpoena for her private therapist's notes if she tried to weaponize mental health in the divorce, which, based on patterns, Victoria was almost certain she would. Even the pre-written PR-safe email to send to mutual friends. Calm, clinical, professional. I closed the folder again. How much of this did you already have before I texted? She laughed once. Short. I've been watching her for 2 years. Ever since she tried messaging Brent again. On our anniversary. My stomach went still. You think she didn't know we were married? She asked, sipping her water now. She knew. She just didn't care. She's reckless. Lazy. And she assumed I wouldn't notice a woman that ordinary. That's her fatal flaw. She thinks she's special because she's always been given the benefit of the doubt. I rubbed the bridge of my nose, processing everything. You're terrifying, you know that? She shrugged. That's what my ex said. Right before I took the Mercedes, the condo, and his weekend cabin in Tahoe, without saying a word in court. She stood, gathering the folder and sliding it back into her tote. Let me know when you want to initiate phase 2. Until then, enjoy the silence. Then she turned and walked out, leaving behind only her glass of water and the faint smell of power disguised as perfume. I sat there for a while, surrounded by music, laughter, clinking glasses. All of it felt a world away. Outside the window, I could see people stumbling out of a corporate party, drunk, alive, oblivious. And for the first time in years, I wasn't sad. or angry, or confused. I was prepared. The sliding glass doors of the hotel gave a faint hiss as I stepped out into the humid night. The kind that clings to your skin like regret. I was halfway down the wide marble steps, still hearing Victoria's voice in my head. Calm, surgical, chilling, when I heard the click of heels behind me. Fast, uneven. Wait, hey, wait. I turned just slightly, enough to confirm what my gut already knew. There she was, her younger sister, Tessa. Tessa, the one who used to joke about how much fun we were as a couple, how we balanced each other out. Tessa, who always stayed just a few steps removed when the insults started flying at family dinners. Tessa, who once pulled me aside in the hallway after a holiday party and quietly said, "You deserve better, but I know you won't leave. So just stay sane." She had changed since then. The bubbly laughter wasn't there tonight. No performance. No phone in hand, like she needed it to shield herself from real emotion. Just wide eyes, bare shoulders, and a look on her face like she'd just seen a ghost rise out of her worst-case scenario. She didn't say my name. She just looked over my shoulder at the doors I had just come out of. Was that? She swallowed. That was Victoria, wasn't it? I didn't respond. She took a step closer. Her heels clicked against the marble in a rhythm that sounded way too fast for someone trying to seem casual. "I know who she is," Tessa whispered, glancing around like someone might be recording us. "Why would she be here? With you?" Still, I said nothing. Her eyes darted to my coat pocket, where the edge of the folder was barely visible. I meant to tuck it deeper. Didn't matter now. She stepped even closer. "Please, don't do this. You know my sister. She talks crap when she drinks. She doesn't mean it. Half the time, she doesn't even remember what she says." I finally looked at her then. Not cruelly. Just like a stranger trying to place a familiar face in a dream they've outgrown. Tessa's voice dropped to a strained whisper. "She's not ready for someone like Victoria. No one is. That woman." She dismantled a judge. A judge. My old boss still won't say her name out loud. A car horn blared from across the street. Somewhere, a group of tourists cheered about something meaningless. But Tessa kept staring, shaking slightly now. She reached out like she was going to touch my arm, then thought better of it. "She doesn't know what she's walking into," she said again. "You don't have to go nuclear. You can still pull this back." That was the moment. Right there. Because if she'd said, "You can still fix it," maybe I'd have flinched. Maybe I would have considered the flicker of guilt I was still pretending I didn't feel. But she didn't say fix. She said pull it back. Like it was all a performance. Like the whole marriage had been some social media blip I could delete before too many people saw it. That's when I realized Tessa wasn't just worried about her sister. She was terrified for all of them. Because she'd seen Victoria before. She knew what it meant when Victoria showed up, folder in hand, eyes dry, strategy already 3 moves ahead. This wasn't a lawyer you hired. This was a controlled detonation you unleashed. I stepped past her without a word. She followed for a few feet, heels clacking frantically, breath catching like she was debating screaming after me in the middle of a luxury hotel entrance. She didn't. I hit the sidewalk. Behind me, I could still hear her breathing, ragged, desperate, but I didn't look back. I kept walking toward the parking structure, the folder under my arm like a loaded weapon no one could see, but everyone would feel soon enough. "Tell me you're not serious," she finally yelled after me, but her voice cracked at the end, like she already knew the answer. I kept walking. Let her tell my wife. Let the panic start early. Let it spread. She called on Monday. Twice. First was mid-morning, probably expecting me to be at work, still sulking, licking my wounds like a good little obedient disappointment of a husband. Second time was closer to lunch. I ignored both. Let her voice slide into voicemail purgatory. I imagined her pacing in the kitchen, glancing at the clock, wondering if I was dragging this out for effect. Probably assuming I'd come crawling back with flowers and apologies, maybe a rehearsed line about needing space. She always did think she controlled the tempo. Tuesday, she texted, "Can we talk like adults?" I didn't respond. I was too busy watching the courier check his clipboard and step into the elevator of the building where she worked. A 27-floor glass box uptown, full of designers, brand reps, and inflated egos pretending to be humble creatives. She was mid-presentation when the receptionist buzzed her floor. The courier didn't flinch when she sighed dramatically and signed for the envelope like she was being handed parking tickets. Then she opened it. Initial divorce filings. Formal. Cold. Devoid of drama. Not handwritten. Not emotional. Not even angry. Just organized. She didn't even bother hiding her reaction. One of her co-workers later described it as a snort laugh. "This what he's doing now?" she had said aloud, waving the pages. Filing papers because he couldn't handle a joke. The room chuckled with her, until she saw the name of the representing attorney. Bottom of page 2. Section 5. Victoria S. Calderon. She blinked once, then twice. Her smile faltered. A few people caught it. One coworker leaned over and said, "Wait, that name sounds familiar." She waved it off. "It's common," she lied. But her eyes were already scanning the print again. She reread the name. Said it out loud this time. Calderon. Then something shifted. A flicker of memory. A story she'd heard. Something about a law firm in Austin. A case years ago. Headlines. Or whispers. She wasn't sure. Her fingers went to her phone. Googled the name. First result. Victoria Calderon, the divorce architect of the ultra-wealthy. Second, the woman who made a senator disappear financially, and his wife thank her for it. Third, why CEOs fear Victoria Calderon more than their mistresses. Her screen froze for a second from all the fingerprint smears. Or maybe from panic. She wiped it against her blouse. Scrolled again. Fourth result. A podcast. Surgical separations. The Victoria Calderon method. She clicked. Listened. Just 30 seconds. You don't win by shouting. You win by silence. You let them underestimate you, and then you take away everything they value. Legally, permanently, and without raising your voice. She stopped the playback. Her hand trembled slightly. This wasn't a local lawyer. This wasn't even a regional firm. This was the same Victoria who once cornered a celebrity chef in court so thoroughly he gave up custody of 3 restaurants just to avoid cross-examination. The same one who filed 16 injunctions in one day across 5 states to lock down assets in less time than it takes to fly between them. And she was now representing me. She reread the papers again. Not laughing now. Each paragraph suddenly felt loaded. Weaponized. Her own words about me, safe, boring, won't ever leave. They rang like alarms in her head. The filing date was backdated by 2 days. She hadn't even noticed I was missing long enough to beat the timeline. She stood from the table and excused herself, trying to laugh again. I need to call my idiot husband. Her coworkers chuckled, but one of them, Dina, watched her leave. Quietly, thoughtfully. Dina used to intern at a firm in D.C. She knew that name, and she wasn't laughing. Thursday morning, she tried to buy coffee at her usual spot, some pretentious little place that serves espresso in mason jars and makes you feel guilty for using cream. The barista ran her card twice, then held it up like it was a rotten receipt. "Sorry, it's not going through." She blinked. "That's impossible. Try again." Another beep. Another error. She pulled out her phone and checked her banking app, still forcing a smile like maybe this was just a glitch. The login worked, but the numbers didn't. Her checking account, once hovering near 5 figures, now sat at $182.14. Her savings showed pending hold. She refreshed the screen. Still there. Still empty. She left the mason jar untouched and walked briskly to her car, heels clicking like war drums. 2 minutes later, she was on the phone with her attorney, a guy named Jeff. Mid-40s, golf tan, firm handshake, but no real killer instinct. She hired him for his approachability, which meant he always told her what she wanted to hear. "Not today. I don't understand what the hell is happening," she barked the moment he picked up. "My accounts are frozen. My card just declined in public." In public, Jeff. She expected sympathy. What she got was hesitation. And then, something worse. A stammer. Okay, I was just about to call you. We received something unusual this morning from opposing counsel. It's a motion for a full forensic review of all marital and premarital assets. It was filed with what I can only describe as speed. She frowned. Speed. Speed. As in she's already secured third-party audits. She's flagged 6 accounts I didn't even know existed. She also submitted transactional history from 2 credit cards that weren't disclosed on your original intake form. Her mouth opened, then closed. "Those were mine," she said slowly. "Personal. From before. That's off limits, right?" Jeff didn't respond immediately. Then came the sigh. "Not if they've been used during the marriage. Especially not if marital funds touched them." "What? No. That's ridiculous. That card was 4 shoes. My own things." Jeff cleared his throat. "There was a Louis Vuitton charge 5 months ago, matched against a debit withdrawal from the joint account 2 days earlier. That's a problem." "Shoes," she snapped, her voice rising. "We're talking about shoes." "No," he said flatly now. "We're talking about commingled funds. And intent. And I need to be honest with you. The woman representing your husband she's good. Very good. The kind of good that makes judges raise their eyebrows and other lawyers retire early. Something in her chest dropped. You know her? Oh, everyone knows her, Jeff said, suddenly sounding far more like a paralegal than a litigator. She represented a crypto billionaire who got married in Bali and divorced in 6 countries. She liquidated 14 shell companies in 2 weeks without anyone being able to trace the filings. Her nickname is the Black Widow of Westlake. She gripped the steering wheel harder. You're exaggerating. Am I? He said, now quieter. Because she's also the wife of Brent Maddox. That stopped everything. Her heart actually skipped. Brent. She hadn't heard that name in nearly 3 years. Not since she tried reconnecting with him after a fight. The night I slept on the couch and she claimed I wasn't a man anymore. Her voice went dry. That Victoria? Yes, that Victoria. And suddenly, it all connected. The weird look on her sister's face. The tone of her friend Dina's voice. The cold, bloodless way the documents were written. Not spiteful. Not reactive. Just thorough. Strategic. She wasn't fighting me. She was up against her. And her mind, her clever, smug, manipulative mind, couldn't even process the shift. Because this wasn't about winning a fight anymore. This was a full-scale rebalancing of power. No more guilt leverage. No more, you'll never find someone better. No more, I control the story. Victoria now had the narrative. And Victoria didn't do drama. She did damage. She heard the doorbell from the kitchen and didn't bother wiping her hands. Let the olive oil drip. Let the stove burn. It was probably the package guy again, leaving more certified letters she wouldn't open. But when she yanked the door open, it wasn't a stranger with a clipboard. It was Tessa. And Tessa looked like she'd driven there in 5th gear the whole way. Hair tied back in a way that looked more like stress than style. Bag clutched tightly under one arm. Eyes full of something halfway between accusation and pleading. Oh, for God's sake, you two, she groaned, turning back toward the kitchen without even inviting her in. Can I please go one day without everyone acting like I killed someone? Tessa stepped inside anyway. I don't care about what you did, she said, shutting the door behind her. I care about what's about to happen to you. The wife scoffed. What's going to happen? He's going to cry himself to sleep on some rented mattress? Call his mom. What? She grabbed a towel, started wiping her hands, then froze when Tessa dropped a thick envelope on the kitchen island. Open it. She didn't. She just stared at it. Tessa didn't flinch. Open it. With a dramatic sigh, she tore the top, half expecting more legal spam. Instead, out spilled a list of accounts, joint, individual, even one she'd opened in her maiden name last year. Every one of them marked with dates, red highlights, and attached motions. What the hell is this? Asset tracing, Tessa said. It's what real lawyers do when they're not wasting time posturing in court. Victoria's already filed preemptive liens on the marital property and requested a forensic review of anything you've touched in the past 3 years. Her laugh was hollow. That's not even legal. This is overkill. Tessa's face hardened. No, this is Victoria playing nice. For now, there was a long silence, broken only by the soft hiss of something starting to burn on the stove. The wife ignored it. Instead, she pointed at the file. He's not going to follow through with this. He's never followed through with anything in his life. He gets mad, sulks, and folds. Tessa took a slow step forward. And maybe that's what he always did. Until you pushed him too far. Until you made the one mistake even your manipulations couldn't clean up. The wife crossed her arms. What? Saying Brent was better. Are you serious? Everyone says stuff when they're mad. He knew I didn't mean it. Tessa didn't blink. Did he? Another silence. Then, softer, Tessa added. Why do you think I chased him outside the hotel? Why do you think I begged him not to do this? That got her attention. What? Tessa nodded. I saw them. Together. In the hotel bar. He wasn't crying. He wasn't drinking. He wasn't unraveling. He was planning. She was handing him a folder, and he was nodding like a man who's already made peace with what he's about to do. He's bluffing, she said, almost to herself. It's a scare tactic. I know him. No, you knew him. Tessa shot back. You knew the version of him that wanted to be loved. The version you ridiculed until he forgot what confidence even looked like. You don't know this version. The wife shook her head. She won't ruin me. That lawyer. She's just bitter because I used to date her husband. You didn't date him, Tessa said. You slept with him behind his then-girlfriend's back. Victoria's back. And now she's not bitter. She's motivated. She sat down slowly, like the gravity of that sentence finally found her spine. Tessa let it sit for a moment before continuing. You don't understand. That woman doesn't lose. She doesn't stop. The last guy who tried to outmaneuver her ended up bankrupt and barred from his own foundation. She doesn't want revenge. She wants control. And once she gets it, she doesn't give it back. The wife looked away, said nothing. You think this can be smoothed over, Tessa added. You're wrong. You made this irreversible. And you did it out loud. Still no answer. Just the sound of the stove alarm beeping. Tessa sighed and reached over to turn it off. I hope you saved something, she said quietly. Because by the time this is over, you won't even own the kitchen you're standing in. Then she left the envelope, turned, and walked out the door. The wife didn't stop her, didn't call after her, didn't move at all. She noticed it first on the group chat. The one called Weekend Crew Clinking Glasses, the same friends who used to flood her phone with brunch plans, Pilates memes, and endless streams of gossip about everyone else's marriages. Now, radio silence. No new messages for 4 days. She sent a photo, her in a sundress, glass of white wine in hand, captioned, Sunshine and Peace Lemon Kiss Mark. No one replied. Not even a like. She stared at the screen, confused, then clicked through their names one by one. No one had left the chat. They were just not responding. She scrolled up through old conversations, past the boozy nights and the flirtatious girls-only selfies, the passive-aggressive digs at their husbands, some of which she had spearheaded. Then she noticed something. Someone had deleted a comment. From 3 nights ago, a gif she'd sent joking about men being disposable. Gone. Like it never existed. She opened Instagram and posted a throwback story. Tagged 3 of them. Still no reaction. Then came the moment that shifted her anxiety from mild irritation into something colder, more instinctive. Lunch with April. Or at least, that's what she thought it was going to be. They met at a place they used to frequent after bar class. Big windows, overpriced salads, servers trained to pretend every customer was a celebrity. April arrived 10 minutes late, sunglasses on, barely said hello. Something was off. Way off. April sat across from her, but never took off the glasses. She didn't order food. Just water. She started small. So, how's everything? The wife forced a smirk. Apparently, I married the most dramatic man on earth. I make one comment, and now he's going full Lifetime movie with it. April didn't laugh. She nodded politely, sipped her water. Then, flatly, you know he hired Victoria Calderon, right? The smirk froze. Who? April finally removed her sunglasses. Come on. You know exactly who. The Black Widow. The one who turned a Senate re-election campaign into a divorce scandal. The one who erased a tech CEO's entire board position with a single deposition leak. She blinked. That's just tabloid stuff. No, April said. That's results. She doesn't just do divorces. She destroys credibility. Legally. Another silence. April stood to leave. Just wanted to check on you. But, off the record, I'd stop posting if I were you. Anything public becomes evidence. That's her specialty. Then she walked out. No hug, no warmth. Just distance. The wife sat there for 10 full minutes, salad untouched, until the server quietly removed the plate without asking. That night, she opened her DMs. 2 more friends had quietly unfollowed her. One of them, Erin, was the maid of honor at her wedding. Even her cousin removed her from a shared Pinterest board titled Dream Vacuis. At first, she told herself they were just scared of getting caught in the middle. That people always ghost when legal stuff gets real. That they were just being polite. But the truth came the next afternoon. A call from Brent. Yes, that Brent. Her ex. The man she had called 10 times the man her husband was. He never called. Not even after she tried messaging him that night, she got drunk and nostalgic. Not even after Victoria texted her a single period, then blocked her. But now he called. She answered. Brent. His voice was low. Awkward. Look, I don't want to get involved. Then why are you calling? She asked. A pause. Because I heard what you said. About me. To your husband. And I think you should know something. She laughed bitterly. What? You going to defend him now? No, Brent said. I'm going to warn you. Don't mess with Victoria. You're not going to win this. She's not vindictive. She's surgical. She's not angry. She's calm. And that's when you should be terrified. Why do you care? I don't, he said. But I've seen her prep for court. You're not a person to her right now. You're an equation. And she's very, very good at subtraction. He hung up before she could respond. And for the first time since this started, she didn't feel like the one spinning the story. She felt like the loose thread. And someone had already started pulling. The letter came in a plain envelope. No branding, no return address. Just a neatly printed label and the weight of inevitability. She opened it at the kitchen counter, expecting more court jargon she could forward to Jeff and forget about. But this one didn't look like the others. This one had a tone, Clinical, final. 2 pages. No fluff. She read the first paragraph 3 times before it landed. This letter serves as formal notice of a lien placed on the property located at address. As per the terms of the Calderon Trust, filed and executed prior to marriage, full authority of asset control has been granted to the primary trustee, his name, effective immediately. She stopped breathing. Trust? What trust? She scrambled for her laptop, typing in the county records portal, fingers trembling, the property search box laughing in her face with its outdated interface. 5 minutes. 10. Then she saw it. Calderon Family Trust. Established 2017. For years before they even got married. And her name? Nowhere. Not even as a contingency. She staggered back from the counter like the screen had slapped her. That night, her credit score dropped by 97 points. The next morning, her gym membership flagged an expired billing method. By noon, she got a notification from the car dealership. Her lease paperwork was under review. She called the number. The man on the phone was polite. Efficient. We were notified your income status has changed. Your secondary authorization has been revoked. You were listed as a dependent party, not a primary. I live here, she screamed into the receiver. Yes, ma'am, the man replied. That's why we're calling you first. Click. She didn't realize she was still holding the phone until it slipped from her hand and hit the floor. The next day, Jeff, her spineless, sweating lawyer, showed up in person. He sat at the kitchen island with a look she hadn't seen before. Not arrogance. Not indifference. Something closer to resignation. They're 10 moves ahead of us, he muttered, rubbing his temples. You said she couldn't touch me. I said you'd be protected. I didn't say she wouldn't get creative. This isn't normal, okay? This isn't law school textbook material. She's using tax code loopholes, prenuptial triggers, and a combination of irrevocable clauses I haven't seen used together in private practice. She built this like a trapdoor, and you just stepped into it. She stared at him. That house is mine, she said quietly now. He told me it was ours. We painted the guest room together. Jeff opened another folder. You signed a quitclaim deed 2 years ago to simplify refinancing. Do you remember that? She blinked. He held it up. He never reversed it. It's how he moved the asset into the trust. You're not just locked out, you signed the lock. Her knees buckled. She dropped into the nearest chair, one hand over her mouth, the other gripping the edge of the table like it might float away. Jeff cleared his throat again, gentler this time. There's more. She didn't answer. The pension plan you two shared? It's been moved into a private retirement structure under a clause buried in your 2021 tax agreement. The travel points account? Closed. Credit shared rewards? Wiped. She looked up, her eyes hollow. How is that even legal? Jeff leaned in. Because he didn't wait for the storm. He built the ark. She didn't speak for a long time. Finally, quietly, almost to herself, she said, You don't understand. He was boring. I thought he'd never fight back. And that's what broke her. Not the house. Not the accounts. Not the lawyer folding like a beach chair in a hurricane. It was the realization that she never really saw him at all. She mocked him. She underestimated him. She wrote the whole script and forgot he had the power to rewrite the ending. Now, she was watching the credits roll, and her name wasn't in them. Just a long, quiet fade to black. The package was smaller than she expected. No logo. No courier label. Just a flat, padded envelope slipped between junk mail and a coupon flyer for car detailing. No return address. No sender name. Just her name, typed, not handwritten, on a clean white label. Like it had been prepared weeks ago. Maybe longer. She opened it on the kitchen counter with the same fingers that used to scroll through shopping apps and delete warning emails from her bank. Now those same fingers trembled slightly, hesitating before unsealing a flap she already knew wasn't going to contain good news. Inside was a single object. A flash drive. Nothing else. No note. No instructions. Just the unmistakable weight of a reckoning made portable. She stood there for nearly 20 minutes, staring at it like it might explode. Then she walked, slowly, carefully, to her laptop, plugged it in, waited for the familiar ding of recognition. One file. No title. She clicked. The screen went black for a second, then opened on a frame so familiar it made her stomach knot. Her dining room. Their dining room. Dimly lit, as it had been that night. Candles still flickering in the background. Her glass of wine half drunk. Her body leaning back in the chair, legs crossed. The smirk on her face already visible before she even said the words. You know, my ex was 10 times the man you'll ever be. The same exact moment. Recorded. She blinked rapidly. Her hand moved to close the screen, But she froze when the video kept going, further than her memory did. At least he made me feel something, her voice said, drunk with venom and performance. You're just safe. Predictable. You won't ever leave. I don't have to try with you. She stared at the screen, breath caught somewhere between her lungs and her throat. Then came silence in the recording. A pause. She remembered that pause. It felt awkward at the time, like she'd gone too far. And now, it played out with a horror she hadn't expected. Because after a few seconds, his voice came through the speakers. Quiet. Measured. Completely calm. Noted. That was it. Just that one word. And the way he said it, not wounded. Not shocked. Not confused. Calculated. She leaned back slowly, a cold pressure building at the base of her spine. The way her name was labeled on the envelope. The timestamp on the video. The angle, not from his phone. It wasn't handheld. It was a fixed, still camera. He'd recorded it on purpose. Not as some desperate man hoping to get sympathy later. As evidence. She sat frozen for a long time after the video ended. Her reflection in the laptop screen stared back at her. No makeup. No audience. Just her face, hollowed out by the echo of her own arrogance. She closed the lid slowly. Tried to breathe. But something wouldn't let her. Not the betrayal. Not the exposure. The certainty. The chilling realization that he didn't just leave her. He dismantled her. Not with rage. Not with screaming. With one word. Noted. Because he'd already known then. He'd already started. That moment. That night. Wasn't the beginning of her dominance. It was the day he began writing her ending. And now? It was already published. The last time she saw him, it wasn't in their home. Not in the kitchen where she used to rehearse her little monologues about how real men acted. Not in the bedroom where she once rolled away mid-argument, muttering something about how he was too sensitive for a grown man. No, the last time she saw him was outside a courthouse. Mid-morning. Crisp, windless air. He was sitting on a concrete bench beneath an old oak tree, tie loosened, elbows resting on his knees. Calm. Not triumphant. Not smug. Just finished. She nearly didn't recognize him. Not because of how he looked. He hadn't changed much. But because there was something gone from his face. That quiet desperation that used to wait behind his eyes whenever she raised her voice. That need to fix what she broke. Gone. She clutched the folder in her arms like a child carries homework they know is incomplete. Her shoes clicked too loudly on the walkway, every step sounding like an apology she'd never said out loud. He didn't look up. Hey, she offered, small and fake. The kind of word that once held power over him. Now it just floated in the air like static. I didn't mean it, she said, stepping closer. Still nothing. I was drunk. You know I say dumb things when I'm... She stopped. Even she didn't believe it anymore. He remained still, eyes forward, like she was part of the landscape. That's when Victoria appeared. Out of nowhere. Like she always did. Perfect posture. No papers in hand. Just one slim, white envelope. Sealed with a wax stamp. The kind reserved for legacy estates and private wealth firms. Victoria didn't speak to her. She simply extended the envelope like a verdict. The wife hesitated before taking it, like her fingers might burn just touching it. She peeled the seal slowly, eyes darting between Victoria's unreadable expression and her husband's indifference. Inside, final decree of divorce. Signed. Executed. Filed. All major assets awarded to him. The house. The stocks. The remaining retirement funds. Property separation enforced retroactively via trust mechanisms dating back 6 years. Non-disparagement clause required on all platforms and in-person statements. Breach penalty, 6 figures per incident. The bottom line hit harder than anything else. Executed with full consent. She blinked at the phrase. It didn't just mean he agreed to the terms. It meant she had, somewhere, buried under the stack of documents she barely skimmed while smirking to her lawyer, she had signed. She had consented to this. Every last part of it. He hadn't trapped her. She'd walked in, mocking, arms crossed, and nodded through her own undoing. She looked up, voice smaller now. Cracked. Is this really final? Victoria tilted her head. It's been final for a while. You just hadn't caught up yet. Then turned to him. I'll see you inside. Judge is signing the closure order in 15. She walked off, heels quiet, surgical. As always. The wife stood there, staring at him, trying to find the version of him she could still guilt or provoke. That version was gone. You don't even hate me, she said softly. No reply. And somehow, that was worse than hatred. Hatred still recognized you. This was deletion. She turned to leave, slow and shaky, envelope still in hand like a death certificate. The wind picked up behind her, scattered some leaves across the courthouse steps. She didn't look back. She knew what she'd see. A man she never respected, now sitting on everything she lost, and the quiet grace of a woman who ruined her life with elegance.